How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Family. We're back with another FPL video, and today we're going to be taking a look at PEP Roulette, a series where we take a look at what potentially Pep Guardiola could be doing for his next lineup for the coming game week. This week he has two fixtures to deal with: Spurs at home and Everton away in quick succession. So there may be a bit of rotation, a bit of the old Pep Roulette wheel spinning along in this game week. They did have an FA Cup fixture which they've gone through in. They beat Swansea 3-1 away from home, and that means that there will be a blank for them almost certainly in game week 29 when they have to play their quarterfinal FA Cup fixture, which means that they're going to be having doubles probably for the next couple of weeks potentially, because they have a double in this game week. They may schedule one for next week. We don't know, but they're almost certainly going to have one in 26 and may have one in 27 as well. City have a lot of games to play over the next coming weeks, and they still have games that need to be made up due to their timeout when they had to deal with COVID in the camp. If you haven't done so already and you are enjoying these series, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It greatly helps it out. And turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. And drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date on all the content that is coming out, as well as the different things that we're posting over there, whether it be lineup news or different schedulings for various different things for videos coming out in the game week, as well as follow us over on Twitch. We will be doing a deadline stream again this weekend, 5 a.m. EST. There'll be a pinned comment down below to confirm the time and date for that. That's going to be for double game week 24. So make sure to come check us live over on Twitch. This is where we do all our FPL preview and deadline streams. So without further ado, let's see how Pep Guardiola lined his team up in game week 23. So this is how Pep Guardiola lined up his team in their 4-1 thrashing over Liverpool at Anfield, making them 3 losses in 3 home games. Not very good form for Liverpool, but City have been looking great, and it's mainly due to the fact of the steady back line that they've been keeping. They had Ederson in goal, Stones and Diaz as the duo at center back, and Cancelo out on the right back. Well, it's not necessarily his position to play right back per se, but we'll get onto that in just a second. If you've been paying attention to the series, you'll know what I mean by that. He went with Zinchenko at left back, which was a bit of an interesting choice. I guess it was mainly because he could potentially stay a little bit higher up the pitch, because he knows Trent wants to swing it in from deep and maybe can help out a little bit better defensively. I thought he would have gone with Walker. He ended up using Walker in the FA Cup, so maybe he uses Walker versus Spurs, where he has more, the pace to deal with Heung-min Son. But again, midfield 3 coming out as well: Bernardo Silva, Rodri, and Gundogan, pretty much staple there. And the interesting inclusion was Phil Foden in the false 9 role for the large portions of the game, certainly for a good portion of the first half. He played him in the false 9 role. He says he still has to work on it, and he's more comfortable, and it's more natural for him to be out on the wing. But, goal and an assist, definitely can't complain about that from Phil Foden, and did quite well. Jesus ended up coming off the bench and ending up setting up Phil Foden's goal. So again, Jesus was one of the kind of the important subs that Pep could have made, and was the only one he actually did make. But for the majority of the game, as we know, if you've been watching Man City, what they do is they take 3 of their 4 defenders and they make them a back 3. They shove Cancelo into midfield and make a midfield 3 with Cancelo, Rodri, and Bernardo, or Cancelo, Rodri, and Gundogan. And then they have the other 3 or the other 4 players. So let's say, for example, Bernardo, Mahrez, Foden, and Sterling. They'll have 2 of them hold the width, so in this case it was Sterling and Mahrez, and then they have one of them play like a shadow striker or a number 10 kind of, and then they have the other one basically playing the false 9, dropping in, whereas the other one's running in behind. And Gundogan actually did quite well for his 2 goals, making those late runs, whereas Bernardo often was around the penalty spot area. So yeah, City, that's what City do, and they're basically doing it to make up for the lack of creativity that they have had with Kevin De Bruyne. So I assume when Kevin De Bruyne comes back, maybe they'll do a little bit less of that, or what they'll do is they'll use De Bruyne in the place of maybe Bernardo Silva, who will then, maybe move out to the wing or something like that, where he's a little bit more comfortable. And De Bruyne will basically play that like number 10 shadow striker type of role, which we often saw from Bernardo Silva in this game as well. And in terms of the substitutions, Ferran Torres was there, Laporte was there, Pep had, some subs he could have used, didn't choose to use any. But yeah, got the 4-1 victory. pretty standard stuff from Pep. This seems to be potentially his best or most favored lineup that he can play at the moment. So I think he's going to do that, or most likely do that, maybe with a tweak here or there versus the big teams. And if there's close games in succession, he may rotate and that sort of stuff. But yeah, let's take a look at one of the key players that allows this system to work. And that player is João Cancelo, somebody who's been doing fantastically well for Pep Guardiola. He says it took him a little while to bed in, but now he's fully understood how his role is in the system. Playing in the midfield 3, often as an attacking 8 in a sense, even though he lines up on the team sheet as a fullback. Been doing quite well. I mean, game week 20, goal, assist, clean sheet. Couldn't ask for much there. 6 points against Burnley with a clean sheet there. And has had a bit of rest over the last couple of games. He seems to be used more and more in more of the games where potentially it's going to be a bit of a low block and they need the creativity, or a very big game in a sense. So Sheffield United at home, he felt that maybe he could get away with resting, which he was able to do. West Brom and Burnley were teams that were going to sit deep, and he's going to have to break them down. Sheffield United at least come out a little bit more. And then Liverpool was a big game, so he was obviously going to play his best lineup in that. He didn't play at all versus Swansea this evening in their 3-1 victory, and was fully rested. He was on the bench and was available, but he didn't come on. So he's going to be fully rested. We'll probably play both games versus Spurs and Everton, almost certainly, especially versus Spurs. And he may see a position change, may move over to the left flank, but we'll get onto that when we go to the predicted lineup because of the way that Spurs like to play and hit teams on the break. But I think he's just so crucial to the way that they play in terms of their build-up play. He's very good under pressure on the ball. He's very good at, doing those like deep swinging crosses similar to how De Bruyne does. He's very good at executing a quick pass, and was one of the key passes for Foden and Sterling's link up before Gundogan got the opener in the Liverpool versus Man City fixture in Game Week 23. And I just think he's just so good. Can play at a multitude of positions, and is just an absolutely fantastic player to watch. But let's take a look at one of the players that may play alongside of him, but may have picked up a knock and might not feature this game week. Now, at first thought, you may be thinking about Ruben Diaz. He also potentially could be out for the first fixture of this double game week against Spurs at home, because he's apparently had a bit of a fever, bit of a stomach bug. Don't think it's COVID related, because they would have probably said something, but he may be the type of player that plays through illness. But the main player that I was talking about is Rodri. He came off hobbling in the Swansea fixture. He didn't look, he was puffing and blowing. He wasn't really, he didn't look right. So he could have a bit of a knock there, or a bit of an injury, which may see him out of the Spurs game. I think if he is even 70 to 80%, Pep is definitely going to want either him or Fernandinho in there. Fernandinho is also somebody who didn't feature at all in the entire 18 or 21 man squad, whatever the number of players that you can have in the FA Cup is. He apparently also has a bit of tightness in his quad, so he'll probably have to pick between those two, because outside of those two, there's nobody really that's a natural replacement in that role, kind of that, that deeper central midfielder that's going to, work on the press and be able to break lines from a deeper position. Maybe you could put Gundogan there, but in terms of fantasy perspective, Rodri's not necessarily the greatest, pick at all by any means. But if Gundogan has to play that role, then he might not be a great pick either. So we're hoping that Rodri plays. He has been Mr. Consistent and has been playing the majority of games due to the fact that Fernandinho's fitness has been lacking this season. And I think Pep sees him as the future of the club, basically, in terms of that role, that defensive, more deep-lying midfielder that's very good at breaking a press and very good at breaking lines, as well as learning the dark arts, as it were. The way that Fernandinho used to kind of nip in and maybe just take the ball off people higher up the pitch, or make that tactical foul, even though Pep claims that he doesn't tell his players to intentionally foul people. But we know all managers do that when needed. But lastly, let's take a look at one last player that could be quite crucial to Pep Guardiola's success in this coming game week. And that last player is Bernardo Silva, or Bilva is what people are coining his name as. But he's been being quite steady in the past few game weeks. Got an assist in game week 20, 22, and 23, and has been playing a large portion of the minutes. Very rarely gets subbed off, and very rarely misses a minute. He played around 60-ish minutes tonight versus Swansea as well. And I can see him being just kind of the utility man, the guy who's going to play week in, week out. And he's been slowly going under the radar. I believe the world number 1 has had him for a few weeks in FPL as well. So that's something to potentially look at. He's only 1% owned, 7.4 million. You know, he's a little bit more expensive than Gundogan. But if Gundogan is dropped back, you know, for a game or two because of Rodri and Fernandinho lacking fitness, then Bernardo Silva could potentially take up that mantle of making late runs into the box, which he's, you know, pretty good at. He usually arrives in and around the penalty spot. He's a pretty good finisher as well, and he just kind of, you know, makes the play work and has kind of slowly got his, you know, fitness as well as his overall game back on track, because 12 months ago there was a period he was just, you know, not good at all, especially after restart, just wasn't up to it. And now he seems to have regained that, and he's, you know, playing with a little bit of swagger, a little bit of a, you know, kind of a finesse in and about it, and kind of slowly going about his business, and been quite crucial for Pep Guardiola, starting game in, game out, and kind of being that utility man. You can play the false 9 role, play wide left, play wide right, play in the midfield 3. Can play in a midfield 2 if he really needs to. Probably not his greatest strength, but could probably do it, to be honest. Playing the number 10 role, he is very, very versatile, and I think he's quite important and could be a bit of a differential pick if you're looking for one in the Man City attack this coming game week. So let's take a look at how I think Pep Guardiola will line up versus Spurs at home, and then I'll also say the changes that he might make going into the Everton away fixture as well. So I think Pep Guardiola only makes one change for the first fixture, which is I think he brings Walker in at right back versus Spurs at home. And the main reason is because Kyle Walker's probably their fastest player, and he's most likely to be able to catch Son on the break. And I think that's something that he will definitely be looking to do, especially because Stones, Diaz, and Cancelo are going to be, you know, kind of not necessarily the fastest players. They have a decent bit of pace, but Walker's going to be the one on that side stopping Son from going, you know, in and behind. And also when they play that back 3 system, Walker has played as in like a back 3 for England in that sense, and Cancelo can kind of get really high up on the left and link up play with the likes of Sterling. I think Rodri will play. I think it may have just been a knock. He was hobbling, he was huffing and puffing, but sometimes it's just a bit of swelling, a little bit of, you know, kind of bruising, that sort of thing. And something that Pep will definitely want to obviously, you know, make sure that he's okay playing on Saturday versus Spurs at home. It's a very big game. If they win this game, if they win their game versus Everton and then beat Arsenal, you're probably thinking they're on the road pretty much, if not already, towards the title. Gundogan will play almost certainly, same with Bernardo Silva. I think Sterling and Foden definitely deserve a starting spot as well. I think the last one could be a contentious one with Riyad Mahrez. Hasn't really been that great. He got a goal and assist a couple game weeks ago, but Jesus could certainly come in the number 9 role and move Foden out in Mahrez's position, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that either. Cancelo could also be somebody that if Gundogan has to play in Rodri's role, may just go into his position naturally. So basically you would see Gundogan and Cancelo kind of playing in a midfield 2 and have the front 4 kind of doing their thing. In which case, I think that you'll probably see Laporte probably come in at left back, just because it'll be a bit more solidity and a bit more kind of positional nous as to where Kane is, as to where Son could be running in behind. And you'll have Walker allowing him to get a little bit higher up the pitch, because he's still able to track Son back if he has to do so, because he has that type of recovery pace. For Everton, I think that they're going to go for somebody a bit more astute on set pieces. Laporte didn't, you know, kind of bask himself in glory, but he is a taller player, so I think he might come in for Cancelo on the left-hand side, and Cancelo will switch over to right back. If Fernandinho is back and Rodri was, you know, still a bit sore and is probably going to play the full 90 if he does start versus Spurs, unless he gets re-injured. You might see Fernandinho come back in if he's fit and available. Gundogan will play again. Bernardo Silva will play again, and then maybe Mahrez rotates in as well. Foden, Sterling, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva. I think those 4 are pretty much undroppable in terms of attackers, in my opinion. I think Pep sees that as well, even though he thinks that Foden's still learning and that sort of stuff. Cancelo, he's had plenty of rest over the last couple of weeks. Only played 63 minutes a couple game weeks ago. Didn't play versus Sheffield United. Didn't play at all tonight versus Swansea. So he should be pretty good and raring to go. Diaz, if it is just like a stomach bug type of thing, he should be fine for Saturday because he still has a couple extra days. Even if he isn't fully okay, he's still that good of a player that I can see him definitely playing. And Walker will probably come in. Walker played the full 90 versus Swansea, but I think he should be fine to play versus Spurs because he didn't play the previous game. So he's had pretty much a full week and should be good to go. And Stones didn't feature either, so I expect him to come straight back in at center back as well and probably play both games with Diaz as well. And that is going to do it for this double game week edition of Pep Roulette for Game Week 24. If you are enjoying the series and you are enjoying them so much so, make sure to show your appreciation by giving the video a like, as well as subscribing to the channel if you are new and turning those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. And also, if you want to keep up to date with all the different content that is going out, give us a follow over on Twitter, PilotPlayM226 on those platforms so you can keep up to date when things go live, as well as follow us over on Twitch so that you can see when we do go live for FPL live streams for previews as well as deadline streams. The next stream that we will be doing is Saturday at 5 a.m. EST. That's going to be for the double game week 24. So make sure to come check us out live over on Twitch for that as well. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.